Are you currently trying to avoid an induction and you're doing all of the things to try to get yourself into labor? Listen up. If you keep going down this path, you're going to end up getting an induction and a C-section. And I will tell you why in a minute. But first, I'm just going to let you know that a lot of the information that you're getting in the mom groups and in the natural childbirth forums is setting you up to fail. In fact, I call these the natural birth traps. And one of the big natural birth traps that I see is moms trying to do all of the things to get into labor to avoid an induction. I get why you're trying to do it. First of all, you really don't want to induce. It doesn't feel right to you, but you're feeling a lot of pressure, either from your care provider or your family or both. You're feeling like you have to get into labor by a certain point in your pregnancy, or else something bad is going to happen. You don't want that. I get that too. Let me just tell you one thing that's going to ease your mind. The average gestation for a first-time mom is 41 weeks and 3 days. Not 40 weeks, not 39 weeks. So why is it that your care provider is trying to push you into an induction before you even hit 41 weeks? Well, the short answer is profit, convenience, and liability. It's just easier for them. It's easier for them to schedule your birth and know exactly when it's happening. And a lot of it is also based on fear. We're in a culture of fear. For some of my other videos, make sure you check out the rest of my YouTube channel, like, share, and subscribe to this channel. Tell your friends about it, because this is the stuff that I had to go digging for. If you don't know who I am, let me just quickly introduce myself. My name is Carly Bonderud, and I am a childbirth educator and empowerment coach. I also was a birth advocate for a number of years, and I spent the last 10 years basically seeing all of the traps that are in the maternity care system and helping moms avoid those things. So I've helped moms who have been told by their care providers that they couldn't possibly have a VBAC, a vaginal birth after cesarean, because they were high risk or too old or too fat, or they had previous C-sections that otherwise made it seem like their bodies were broken and defective. And they've gone on and they've had these amazing, beautiful natural birth experiences that they otherwise wouldn't have had if it wasn't for what I was teaching them. Things that I'm going to be telling you right now. First of all, if you're worried about not going into labor on your own, let me just tell you something. Whether you do anything to get things going, you are going to go into labor. It's just not going to be on your timeline or anybody else's. You're on your baby's timeline. Think of it like this. If you wanted a flower to open, you're not going to keep forcing those petals because the flower itself is going to be damaged in the process. This is what you're doing essentially when you're trying to induce your baby before they're ready. Your baby has a whole bunch of things that they need to do before they're ready for the outside. And they actually signal to your body when it's time to go into labor. If you want to know more about that, make sure you're checking out some of my other videos that I talk about with induction and what your baby is doing in those last few months of pregnancy. So anyway, though, you're looking at trying to get into labor before your due date because you don't want to induce, right? Here is the counterintuitive thing that you're going to want to do to make sure that that doesn't actually happen, that you don't get induced and that you go into labor on your own. First of all, forget the timeline. I told you, you're on your baby's timeline. This may be 42 weeks, this may be 43 weeks. As long as you physically feel okay to keep going in this pregnancy, and as long as you're tuned into your body and your baby, and you're recognizing that your baby is running the show here, there's no problem. There's no reason to induce. That scary stillbirth rate is actually 1 per 1,000, and it was based off of studies done in the 1950s and 1970s. Before they had any technology and before they even knew that you can actually detect if there's a problem and do something about it. They didn't have the ability to quickly induce moms and have C-sections back in the 1960s and 70s. Now we do. So if at any point you realize that maybe you should induce because you yourself feel that you need to, that's completely different. And there is a way to have an empowering induction. In fact, Rachel Reed's book, Why Induction Matters, is very helpful in showing you how to plan a positive induction, what to expect during an induction, how it differs from a true physiological birth, which is the true natural birth. This is what we're aiming for when we're talking about an empowered birth is we aim for physiological birth, then we pull back when we need to. If you want to know more, though, about creating birth plans, then go to my website, empoweringmomsbirth.com/birth plan, where you're going to actually get a free training series from me of 5 videos where I basically walk you through creating an entire birth plan from scratch without you having to take a single childbirth class or talk to your care provider about your options or do a whole bunch of research or go down a whole rabbit hole of trying to find information. Basically, this takes all of the guesswork out of it, and in the end, you have a completely idiot-proof and foolproof and fail-proof birth plan. It also comes with a free template, and I also tell you a little bit more about the big mistakes you're making when you're trying to create your birth plan. I also have one secret, and it's not really a secret because I tell you this all the time. It's that you need to create your birth plan first. If your goal is to have a natural birth, then you want to create your birth plan as soon as possible because this is your roadmap. And the Empowered Birth Plan framework allows you to create your roadmap. So again, it's empoweringmomsbirth.com/birth plan. And once you get that training, you're going to be able to get the roadmap that you need to plan your empowered birth. Anyway, back to what I was saying though, about what you need to do to get into labor. First of all, you need to understand one thing about your body, and that's this. Your body is designed, as all mammals are, to interpret fear as danger. So when you are thinking, I need to get into labor before this looming deadline, that is flooding your body with stress hormones. And these stress hormones are basically signaling, hey, there's a tiger in the area, it's not safe to birth. So what does your body do? It says, gotcha, we can't have this baby come out. Even if your baby is ready to come, they are not going to be able to come at all. You're not going to start labor. You might have a few contractions. You might have things start to get going. That's your body basically signaling you to get to your safe cave. It's like, hey, you're out here where there's a tiger. Baby's ready to come. You need to get to your safe cave. I'm going to basically tell you to get to your safe cave. But unfortunately, we've lost that wisdom because we've been taught to just do what the doctor tells us to do. And we've also been taught that our bodies don't go into labor on their own. They don't go into labor by a certain point. We have to induce. So the counterintuitive thing to do here is to, first of all, take that induction date away. Until you decide yourself that you want to induce, you don't have to schedule anything. You don't have to go into labor by a certain point. Even if your care provider is really pushing for it, if you don't feel that there's a need for it, that's it. They can't make you have an induction. They can try with all of their policies and procedures and everything, say this is what we'd like to do. But you have to recognize that that's their own fear. That's their own limitations and what the policy is in their hospital and the bottom line. But the truth is you're going to go into labor on your own. And even if your care provider says we can't support you anymore if you don't induce, it's a lie. It's actually a lie. They think that that's the way things are, but when push comes to shove, if you show up in labor, somebody is going to attend you. If you ask for help, someone's going to attend you. And I'm just going to remind you of one thing. This is a physiological process. Your body's going to do it whether or not you get permission from somebody or not. If the medical system says that they're not going to support you, and then you ask for support, it's going to look really bad on them if you birth your baby alone and then you say, I had to birth alone because they wouldn't support me. So I'm just going to remind you again, your body is going to do this. Whether anybody supports you or not, it's going to do this. That's why a lot of women, they do choose to free birth when they feel like they're being backed into a corner and they really don't want to induce. But you don't even have to do that. You don't have to fight. You don't have to beg. You don't have to compromise. All you have to do is recognize that your body is designed to do this. And for more information on that, as well as creating your solid birth plan roadmap, make sure you go to my website, empoweringmomsbirth.com/birth plan, get that free training, watch the videos, do the exercises, and I guarantee you're going to feel more confident. You're going to get past that fear that you have that your body's not going to go into labor on your own. You're going to get a crash course in what physiological birth can actually look like, even if you're high risk.
And in the end, you're going to be able to get the birth you want without having to fight, beg, or compromise.
All right. I'll talk to you soon. Bye.